Hello everyone. My name my name is Mohammed, and I try to learn how to say my name is Mohammed in German. I still find it difficult, so I didn't want to make fool of myself. So it's not sounding the right pronunciation the way you speak. I said I would better say it in English. It's okay. Sorry, I tried it but didn't succeed. Okay, so the whole point of this talk is to share my experience of how I became a CPAN contributor from just a CPAN user. I gave this talk in 2016 in London Pearl workshop, and that was my first ever talk at any workshop. So, and the person behind who pushed me to do this, it was Neil Bowers. He would keep pushing me, Mohammed, you have to give a talk. And I was very scared. I'm still scared. My leg is still shaking. I'm trying not to show that. But it's fun for me. And also I want to share what I've gone through the entire journey. And if I can motivate single person in this audience, I would say it's worth giving this talk, coming from London to Germany. So and even though there are quite experienced people in this audience, you may sound that I'm repeating myself, but for me, please ignore me if I repeat myself, because it's just that I want to share what I've gone through. Even though you may know, okay, yeah, fine, you're not telling me anything new, I knew everything, but I still want to share with you guys. So please bear with me. Okay, as I said, the whole objective is to share my experience, how I started about 20 years ago. About 1998 was first time when I was introduced to Perl. And prior to that, I was a Windows programmer. I was doing Visual Basic and MS Access database and kind of business. So I've seen how the Perl grows from the early Perl 5 till today. And yeah, so it's a nice experience still continuing. And also, as I said, I want to share some of the tricks that I've learned through my pull request mission. And I try to know how you can start contributing without fear. Because first thing that I was struggling initially when I started saying, okay, I want to contribute, I want to give back to the Perl community, but where do I start? And every time an idea comes to my head and it says, yeah, somebody has already done it. So how am I going to do that? So there was no way to start with. And there was a one incident I came across, and I noticed I very closely followed Neil Bowers. It's like I'm following his footsteps. Wherever he goes, I just follow him. Without he realizing that I'm following him. But I'm not a stalker. So I saw I follow him on GitHub. Because I'm a follower of him in GitHub, you see what he does on GitHub. You get a notification that Neil Bowers created a repository on such and such distribution. He pushed this pull request. He made this change. So I keep getting those notifications, and I realize his pull request is such a simple changes. Like, for example, changing the license meta name to the repository. I said, wow, Neil Bowers sent a pull request fixing a meta name in a distribution. And his pull request getting accepted by the author. I said, I can do that. So that's how I started. So, okay. So I said, okay, I'm going to just start doing this. Where am I? So even before that, so if any of you would like to become a contributor, I would suggest use the GitHub platform. I really like it, and it's my first choice. And because it helps you as a beginner, if you want to start doing a pull request or contributing back. If you have a GitHub, It has a nice interface, in my opinion, where you can easily create a pull request, you can easily merge your changes. If somebody's contribute to your own work, you can send a request, you can get a nice, you can even have a one-to-one conversation with the author where you're contributing to. So it's a nice platform, so I would suggest. And also, before you do that, it's better if you can learn a few Git commands. So it helps you to do all this. I remember when I joined a GitHub organization called Absolute, House Absolute, running by Dave Rolski. And once I joined that organization, I made one single pull request, small changes, and send a request. Being a member of that organization, I can accept my own changes. But then I submit the changes and allow other people like Dave Rolski and other people to come and comment on this. Dave came into the picture saying, I like your changes, but can you make some changes here and there? I said, fine, I can do it. But I said, make sure I still want a single commit. I don't want two commits. How can I do? I've already made one commit, and you want to make another changes, but you want to merge those commit changes. Okay, how can I do that? I can drop this branch, create a fresh branch, and do exactly how you want me to do. I said, no, I still want that. You have to do the merge. How can I do that? Then he introduced me something which I never knew before, where you can merge the commits and do various other things, like rebasing and other Git thing. And he made me to learn that. And I learned the trick, and then I pushed those changes, and he accepted finally. Once that got accepted, it gives me such a pleasure. I was so happy, I finally made it. And then I learned the mistake that I made. And next time I know I'm never going to do this same mistake. So that's something while I do these small changes, I learn every day something. Again, as I said, the only problem initially was where to start. So I remember my first model that I've ever published on CPAN was Test Excel. And I remember those days when you want to create a new model, you generally just upload to PAWS. However, at the same time, you have to send a request to PAWS admin saying, I want to register this in my name those days. And that was the process I was told. So I sent an email to PAWS admin saying, I want to use Test Excel as my own this distribution before I want to push it. Somehow, Brian DeFoy got hold of that request because you send it to the pool. He replied back to saying, Mohammed, I like the idea and it's really cool, and I think I'm going to probably use it once you upload it. At that point, I didn't know who Brian DeFoy is. I thought he's just one of the admin guys. And then I realized his name was all in a small letter. See my silly mistake. I'm talking to a guy called Brian DeFoy, and I'm questioning his name. Why are you writing your name like this, all small? But he was very kind and very cool-headed. He sent me a link saying, please go through and read this link. And that link had a full discussion. God knows how many years people have been asking me on how he replied back. So he didn't want to repeat himself. He sent me, okay, go through this link. You'll understand why I name it like all small. And at that point, I realized who Brian DeFoy is. So I said, make sure I keep my mouth shut. Or when I open my mouth, I open with a reasoning without just saying anything. But then I realized somebody like Brian DeFoy saying that he probably use my model in future in any of his projects. And that's a big thing for me. Person like who doesn't never anything, thinking of publishing a first model of his life, and somebody, Brian DeFoy, saying, probably I'm going to use it. And I kept that email as like a souvenir in my inbox, in my Yahoo inbox. Every time I feel low, I go back to my archive and I say, look, Brian DeFoy said he want to use my module in future. Whether he use it or not, I don't even know that. He doesn't even realize that he said something to me, but I keep that as a souvenir. Right. So for me, this small thing makes a big difference, and it motivates me to do even more. So that's how that thing. And the way why I wrote that text Excel was at that time where my job required me to do some kind of Excel file comparison. And we already had a small Perl script which does few things. I say, it's a nice thing. Why not create something which can help the whole community, Perl community? I can convert that into a model, push it to CPAN. Other people can do the same thing while I'm doing this as Perl script, and I can do that. That's where I got the idea. So that's why I'm saying if anybody wants to do something, they can probably look into their own day-to-day thing, see what you're doing on a daily basis, see if you can make it as a module. Maybe somebody else can get benefit of your own work kind of thing. That's where you should probably start. And I wasn't thinking like that before, then when I realized it. Another way of doing is maybe you can start something new, like a fresh project. And the only thing I would say, when you think of a new project, think in a way where others can also join you in a case. For example, when I was thinking of this map tube ideas, I thought, okay, if I do a London tube map, okay, fine, I can write my own map and can do it, but what if I want some other cities like New York City or Barcelona or Madrid or some other places? Others can also start creating models. So I think it's a good idea, where it's not just me who is only doing things. I can have other people also who can join me in my journey. So I started this. So initially, the map tube was only to do the London tube map. Then later on, I changed that whole framework and made it as like a role, Mu role. So, and made a separate thing. So, and I started creating separate maps for every city that I started doing there. Probably that's another way you can also start doing it. Then after a point, I remember there was a blog, Barbie wrote it on Perl blog site saying when he finished 360 odd days of pushing changes every day to CPAN, and he write a blog that after finishing a year, I'm stopping it. I'm not doing this anymore. I've had enough, and I see Mohammed is catching me up. At that point, I was on my 200th day without missing a day. I say he still has to cover a lot, 160 odd days behind me. Maybe one day he can catch me up. And then in that blog, he mentioned my name, and for me, that again, is like a moment for me. Barbie writing about me, specifically saying Mohammad Anwar is catching me up. I said, my God, that's a big thing. Barbie's talking about me in a public blog. And they said, no, I'm not going to miss this opportunity. I have to beat him. So, still 165 days behind him, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got only a handful of distribution I can work on. How am I going to match 165 more days? I need more distributions. And I can't create new distribution every day. Huh? I need more work. So I said, okay, where do I start? Then I said, okay, maybe I can ask people to make me maintainer. If somebody is not looking after their baby, no time, I say, can you give me the maintainership so I can go and make changes? So I'll have one changes, I can push it, and that's one count for me. But then I can't just go randomly saying, René, give me your module, I want to do it. He won't do it. I said, go away. Who are you? Why should I give my baby to you? So I have to earn the respect. I have to make something so he'll have confidence in me. Okay, yeah, I think Mohammed can do it. Okay, fine. You can take one of my module and you can do this work. And actually, it's a very funny story. I had an experience with Geber. Probably you all know Geber Sabza. One Sunday evening, I was sending pull requests. I was on my own in a different zone. One pull request after another. And in a row, I sent 5 pull requests, and he accepted one after another. I sent a pull request. Within 2 minutes, he accepted it and said, thank you, Mohammed. Thank you from Geber is a big thing. I still keep that. Thank you. Immediately, I sent another pull request. He accepted that again. 3rd, 4th, 5th. After 5th, he said, Mohammed, do you want to maintain this module, please? Here you go. Now he got the confidence that Mohammed can look after this module. So that's how I got hold of that very popular module. And that gave me a few extra days for pushing this through. And similarly, there's another module, I got XML XPath. It's a big module. And finding myself associated with that module is like winning a lottery for me. If somebody talking about XML XPath, he'll come where somewhere in the changes file, he'll see there is a Mohammed who did release on this date, this. Oh my God, look at this. So it's like a big thing for me. My name going along with other people in that list. So, sorry, I'm not looking after where I'm going. So, I remember, so that's how I got all about. At the moment, I'm maintaining about 20 plus odd distribution, and I'm doing actively. And I remember there was a guy, somebody, I don't remember his name, from Debian. He had made some ticket against the distribution saying something is not working. And because it was neglected for many years, nobody was even bothered looking at it. Once I got hold of the maintenance, I said, okay, let me pick the easy thing so I can trim down the list. It was 30 odd tickets against it. At that point, I didn't know enough of XML XPath. So I have to learn XML XPath before I do anything. If I do something wrong, and if it affects maybe hundreds of people, it's going to kill me. Who this guy is coming into the picture now and breaking with things which was working fine for many people. So I started fixing this easy peasy. And it came down to, I think, 10 odd tickets left. So it brought it down. That guy sent an email to me, that Debian guy, saying, Mohammed, thank you very much for looking after this module. And I remember they had many monkey patching things at their own end. I probably think they must be patching my code, my XML XPath code, when they release things. They said, can you fix this in the source so we don't have to do this every time? I said, why not? Wow, give me. Three more days I'll get for pushing changes. So I took all his changes and I started applying one at a time. I said, I can do this in one go. No, I'll do one. Okay, I'll keep the other two for the other 2 days. So I do, and then similarly I started doing that, and it's all nice and clean for him. I said, thank you very much. I said, you're most welcome. Please give me. So that's how I started. Then once I've finished all through my changes that I had to do, then I said, now what? I think I did about 1,027 days without missing a single day, changes to the push. And that too, I remember last year when I went to India on a holiday, and what I used to do when I go to holiday, because the changes, it's very difficult for me to have an internet network wherever I go in India. So I created tarball for each day when I'm away from my London. So if I'm going for 20 days, I have 20 tarballs with the date on it. So when you push, the changes file, it still says that date. So it should match. It shouldn't trace. So I had a 20 odd ball. And then I said, okay, if I'm traveling, how am I going to upload it? It's just a matter of uploading. So I took help of my brother who is in a city called Bombay. I said, take 20, this tarball, keep a copy of yourself. I'll call you if I'm traveling. So you do it for me, okay? Here's the link. Go to post.org.r and upload it for me. And that's how I did it. But unfortunately, last time he missed it because his son was ill. And he had to rush to the hospital in the middle of the night. And next morning he said, brother, sorry, I missed it. And now you have to stop his 1,027 days full stop. Start from beginning, 0. I wish I had a mistake to continue from 1,028 the next morning. I said, no, I'm not going to stop it. Next morning, that was my second day of holiday, I started beginning from 0. Today, I'm on 226 days. So I'm still waiting when I'm going to break that 1,027 days. So because I have to start from 0, then I say, okay, where else I look for? So, okay, now I'm going to look. I'm not going to wait for any adoption thing. Adoption, I've had enough. I have 20 odd distribution adopted, that's it. Now I'm going to do, I'll see who else is active on Mera CPAN. And you go to Mera CPAN, there's a site called Recents. Click on Recent, they'll see recently uploaded distribution. I say, okay, there you go. These are the people I should be talking to. So I see, okay, remember, Markov, he recently uploaded a module on CPAN. I didn't know Markov. First time I saw, but I saw something new. I said, chances I'll find something to make a pull request. And I did find one. I said, wow, there you go. I sent a pull request to him. He happily accepted it. I said, this guy is very friendly. I sent another pull request. He accepted again. Then I sent another request. He accepted. I said, maybe this is guy is going to give me. I'll make a maintainer of this. But he's still holding. He didn't give me his model. So I'm hoping maybe one day I can convince him. So that's how I say, okay. So, and the first thing, I go with the smallest step. I don't jump hacking a code on day one. What I try to do is, I start going through the documentation, try to find out if there is any spelling mistake in anywhere in the pod. And whenever I find, okay, there you go. Believe I and E is in different position. It should be IE, not EI. Similar, simple thing. But sometimes people might be thinking, this guy, his first language is not English, and he's suggesting me English, he's finding English, grammatical mistake or spelling. What this guy think of himself? Huh? I have to be very sure. Sometimes I Google it before I make a request. I don't want to make a fool. I say, I think this is wrong. This doesn't look at the right spelling. I select it, Google it. Google, tell me, am I right? Google think, yeah, you're right. Make this. This is wrong. This is spelling mistake. There you go. Another full request. Small typo. Please do it. And author is happy to accept it. Merged. I see green tab on my GitHub. Lovely. There you go. So that's how I say. When I'm done with all the spelling mistakes, I say, where else I go? Okay, let's try to find it. Is there any broken link? Is there any link in the doc where it's saying, okay, this link may be broken because the site is down, things have moved. I go through in a spare time, any random, recently uploaded module, here you go, read through. Click, works fine. No, it's not my job. I'm looking for broken link. If it works, this guy is genius. That's useless. Find something where you find a broken link. And when I do find some error message, there you go, new pull request, fix the. Sometimes it's very hard to find a link. You're talking about something which I have no idea, no ground knowledge of that thing, what you guys doing here. But you link to something out of my own domain. I said, where to find it? Make sure I find the right thing. If I suggest linking something else, this is going to probably say, never ever someone see this guy again around my distribution. So I have to be extra careful before I do this. So I do those kinds of things. So okay, that's the second thing I do. Okay, once I've done the link thing, okay, what else shall I do? Maybe see if there is anything. Okay, next thing I look for, is there any feature which I don't see in my the documentation missing? Sometimes the author is too busy doing the coding and not documenting things. Okay. So I said, fine, okay, I think this is not documented. It's easy for me. Just saying, okay, here's the method, expect this parameter, and it returns this. Easy for me. I don't need to actually go through the internals of the functions. I can do that, and probably chances are the author might accept it. Yeah, fine. He's not changing my code. He's not changing the functionality. He's just saying, there's a method in this distribution, expect XX parameter has to be like this, and it will return something. That's it. No big changes. So it's easy for me. So I start doing that, and people accept that. And then I've done this. When I've done this, okay, fine. Now what next? Maybe look for some unit test. Maybe some parameters is not checked properly. I remember there was another module. Gabriel was maintaining it, and he had one method in that distribution where saying he accepts the few parameters, 3 or 4 parameters, and he's checking done. At the end, he saying, if something not happened, don't bother doing anything, come back. I said, this is not right. If all this fetching parameters business is happening for no reason and then you are coming back, what's the point? It should do this return back business right at the front. If this is not dependent, I think I can do this pull request. So I just swap things. And I saw a reply back from Gabriel saying, Mohammad, can you explain to me what benefit is going to happen, is going to give if you skip those parameter fetching logic and then not doing say, maybe you'll save a few milliseconds. What's the point fetching parameters and then you're saying check something and if it doesn't pass, go back. It has nothing to do with the parameter fetching. Do the parameter fetching afterwards once you are happy that everything is happy, you should be here, and every kind of thing. And he kind of accepted this, and then he merged that changes into the pull request. So I start looking those kind of changes. See, is there anything logically? If the lines are misplaced, should be in the top or should be in the bottom? I start looking for those changes. Without even, I try avoid to hacking the code at the beginning. And then once I'm done that, then probably then I start looking at the quality on the distribution, made of CPAN. When you click through it, say, okay, this distribution is missing some predex. Okay, fine, easy peasy. Make some changes to the disk.ini or make file.pl file, and then start making those changes. So then I started that as well. And when I feel very confident, I start looking for any fail reports. Sometimes the fail report is saying this model is missing in this environment, whichever environment the test was run against. Okay, fine, you can easily fix it. Sometimes says, okay, this data was not missing, or something in the code where you didn't cover that particular edge cases is breaking the report. You fix the report, send a pull request. Chances are user might accept it. So that's how I started it. And then we say, once I've done all these through, then I said, now it is time for me to hack the code. How you start hacking? Okay. As I said, I start doing with the missing parameters checks, and then start adding a unit test. I remember for unit test, I recently did recently some crypt password model. He uploaded it, and I found the distribution had only one method in it. HK password, HXC password something. And there was no parameter checking in that. I said, wow, I'm going to German Pro workshop. I'm going to see this guy. I should better send a pull request thing. I send a pull request wave saying, you're not doing any parameter checking in your method. You're not just accepting it and assuming user will send start or something or end, and then you carry on doing. So I pushed the pull request with small parameter checking. I think he accepted it, and he made some changes to my unit test by using some nice handy text warn or something like that. So that's what I do. When I feel confident, I start looking into the changes. See, I can start making some changes as well. Again, I do this. As I mentioned, where do I look for all this? The only place I look is meta CPAN recents upload a file, because I notice if somebody is there, the user is probably very active. He's active, and chances are the get a response is very high. So I only look for distribution who has got a source code in GitHub, because it makes life easier. So if I don't see if I see a distribution, it doesn't exist in GitHub, I try to not touch that, because if I tried it, excuse me, it's very difficult for me to send a request to as an RT, give a patch. Chances are very less that the author is going to accept it. I try not to, but luckily nowadays most of the authors who maintains the code, they have a GitHub presence. So I'm lucky that way. So I just carry on doing that. I remember initially I still have some pull requests 2 years ago. I never had a single response from that user. 2 years ago. I mean, sometimes I get a response after 1 year. Thanks for pull merged. Thank you. I said, wow, finally. And I keep track of every pull request that I submit and every pull request that get merged. And I remember, and I see the number growing, starting from 10, 20, 30, 40, and it has reached to a point now I've got over 750 pull requests. And out of those pull requests, I've got 500 and odd already been merged. So I want to, maybe very soon, I want to reach this magic figure of 1,000 pull requests, probably very soon. And doing this, it helped me joining the 24 pull request challenge I've joined. I've joined Hacktoberfest, helped me to push more changes. And now for last 7-8 months, I've set up my own mission saying, I want to send one pull request every day. On average, at least 31 pull requests a month. Last year, I did that 6 months. I couldn't finish it because I had to go to India and all those things. But then I said, this year I'm not going India. I'm going to be in London all year. So chances that I may complete my mission. So I've done more than one, average one pull request every day in January, February, March. And I've already done 7 or 8 pull requests for this month. And today is 3rd or 4th. So I'm well behind myself. I took that margin because I'm going to be in Germany. How I'm going to do the pull request? So on Sunday, before coming here, I sent 4 or 5 pull requests. I say, oh, I'm covered. So I can go to Germany without worrying that I'm going to miss the pull request. So I already have 7 pull requests in my list for April month. So hopefully this year I probably have 12 months with at least 1 pull request every day. So probably next.
So why don't you automatically schedule them?
I find it very hard to do that. It's doable, I agree, but I find it very difficult. If I can find an easy way of doing it, probably I'll go for it. I remember Barbie had a trick when he was on that mission of 365 days mission. He mentioned that he had some handy script that helped him when he's away on holiday for doing this regular thing. But I didn't have the courage to go and ask him, can you borrow your script? I said, no, don't worry. Maybe one day I'll have my own script to do that trick that Barbie was to do. Okay, I think I'm nearly there. I remember, it's a very funny thing. During my early days, I remember I saw a distribution on CPAN, and it says, quality says, this distribution is missing strict and warning. I said, why would anybody push a code without having a strict? Because that's the first thing you'll teach newcomers. Before you write, always use strict. Warnings may be, but strict has to be there. So I said, I was confident if I send a pull request for those missing module having not used strict, chances are they can't say no. The author has to accept. I send that. I'm not going to tell the distribution. It's a very popular distribution used by probably everybody in the Perl community. And I say, I'm making a big challenge. Yeah? If I get insulted in public, it's going to be embarrassing for me. I did that. What did I get back? Thank you for your pull request, but maybe not. I don't want to accept this. I had many reasons to prove why it's important, but I didn't have the guts to say that to a person. You have to accept it. Why can't you say you can't accept it? But in some cases, that's why I say, if anybody is thinking of sending pull requests with warning and strict, be careful. Maybe somebody may not like it. So I don't know why that person says, no, I don't want to accept your request. For some cases, no, this is not important. Was to you?
I think it was.
Oh, okay, maybe. So,
I can explain it to you later.
okay. So I said, I didn't have the guts. I don't even remember. It's a long time. During my starting days. And then from that onwards, when I had that experience, I stopped sending pull requests with use strict or use warning. I ignored it. As if I didn't see that thing. No, it's okay. It's fine not having used it. It's okay. If somebody told me it's not important. I stopped doing that. No pull requests. Other than other quality thing, like for example, missing meta.json, yeah, fine. I've seen people accepting my changes. So I think that's a choice. 1 pull request for me. So I do that, but I stopped doing that strict and warning checks. And sometimes, early days, not anymore, I used to get not a very happy response kind of thing. In a way, sometimes become a very rude kind of response. I get very disheartened. I'm like a baby boy. Oh, somebody say, Mohammad, well done. I start jumping like a boy. Oh, wow, somebody says, Mohammad, well done. When somebody says, that ruined my day, whole day. I'm going to think that somebody says, didn't say the nice thing to me. When I say something, thanks, make my day. I'll do 2 more because somebody said thank you. So I would suggest, if anybody is saying, if you don't get a response at all, don't be disheartened. It happens, fine, move on. Try something else. I know it's not easy, it's very hard, but it hurts sometimes. So if you say, okay, fine, I understand. So now, when I send a pull request to somebody, I try to analyze what that author might think if I do that. I'm like a brain, I think, mind reader kind of thing. I'm thinking, oh, maybe. And I've been very lucky in that way. So I know what kind of changes I should be making in my pull request to make sure that it's get accepted. So yeah. As I said, if somebody rejects your pull request, fine, okay. Say, sorry, I bother you. When I say sometimes, sorry for my mistake, sorry for my leak, the author sometimes gets, I think I was very rude to him. He comes back and apologizes me. Because I think the whole point is not to show off my knowledge, saying, oh, I'm no better than you. No, there's nothing to it. The whole point is, while I do this as a fun, I learned a lot than what I do in my day job. Sometimes I pick a random module on CPAN, which I have no domain knowledge at all whatsoever. So because I'm reading through the pod documentation, I try to understand how the brain works, how the author is thinking, how he's trying to approach the solution problem, and how he's going step by step. And while doing so, I learned few things here and there, and that helped me in my daily job. So sometimes when I was saying a pull request, I try to say less things because English is not my first language. So I say if I say more things, the chances I may sound arrogant, I may sound very aggressive. So rather than saying too many things, I say, if you see, if I send more than one pull request to any of you, you will see there's a pattern. I say, hi, at the rate and the name, please review pull request. Thank you very much. First, I'm not saying anything. All the thing that I want to say is in my commit message. All I have to say, I put in my commit message. Nothing in my email. So I'll try to avoid that conversation where I might sound aggressive, might sound, excuse me. So yeah, that's what I say. So as I said, because I want to have more changes, more pull requests, I try to split the changes into separate pull requests. Okay, if I find three things in a distribution, so I'll create 3 pull requests, 1 for each. Excuse me. Okay, sorry. This is another thing I've experienced. Sometimes when you start making changes to the code, excuse me, initially I used to start doing it my own way, my own coding thing. User come back saying, what are you doing? Where are you coming from? Stop doing that. Just follow my style of it. How I write my code, how many spaces are there. So I try to avoid that. I say, okay, I only do bare minimum changes. If I remember recently I sent a pull request with 1 space change as a pull request. And what that space does, if you notice in the pod, if the letters start from the first column, and if in a pod, the meta CPAN formats differently. If you leave the first space, it'll give a nice background. So this distribution had some code started from the column 1, so that that pod didn't have a nice background because it started from the first column. So I created a pull request, and I moved that line 1 character inside. So now the code starts from the second column. When you push it to meta 7, now you have all the code in a nice background. I got a response from the author. He says, let me think, what was it? Perfectionist is the word he mentioned. As a big name, perfectionist. And I said, if you say changes, say this 1 dot, GitHub saying, this 1 tiny dot in the whole pull request, and the response was perfectionist. That made my day. That made my day. I said, that's enough. Okay, now let's start looking for anything else that I've done for today. Thank you. I've talked about. I've said that. If you have any. Oh yeah, wow, thank you. It's like an honor. If somebody asks question to you, that means that it was interesting. Okay, Julian.
Do people send pull requests to you?
Yes. And yes, and I I remember when I submitted my first module, MapTube, Neil Bauer sent me an email saying, Mohammed, I think your MapTube needs some tweaking. And I've got few ideas. I'm going to send a pull request. I said, the day you're going to send a pull request to me, I'll keep that as a souvenir. That Neil Bauer sent a pull request to my code. Unfortunately, till date, he has not sent a single pull request. And I don't want to remind him.
Busy painting stones.
Yeah, so that. No, but others do send me pull requests, yes. Sir.
Do you care about Perl 5 modules that are hosted on Bitbucket?
I've never bothered looking at, honestly speaking. The reason is I know nothing about Pickpocket or whatever, Big Bucket.
Basically the same like GitHub.
As I said, I've never been there, I've never explored it. Maybe once I explore, I'll start looking at it. I find GitHub more familiar. It's like I feel like home. When I see something in GitHub, I can know where to look around. I can run around like a baby, one room to another room to another room. Maybe if I go to Big Bucket, probably I'll scared. Oh my God, where am I? Maybe one day, as I said, I've never explored it. Maybe if I go there, probably I can have maybe more than 2,000 pull requests. So maybe I'll find more changes there as well. So yeah, why not? And so one final small notice, I have another talk tomorrow, where I'm going to talk about my MapTube. And this time, I remember last time when I was doing this in London Perl Workshop, I offered, I raised like a mini challenge to the audience saying, I've got 3 different cities data, map data. I want somebody from the audience to prepare a map using the data. You don't have to do anything. I'm going to show you how you do it. Just take my data, bundle it together, push it. So, and whoever does that, at the end of the day, I'm going to give a surprise back. There was a girl in that audience school, Arieta. She did that. And she came to me at the end of the talk, Mohammed, I have got a map ready. Where is my prize? Here you go, you have got the prize. But this time, I said, this time I'm going to the same talk, but I've changed things because I had a response survey at the end of the session where some people suggested what should be there in the talk, what shouldn't be there in the talk. So I modified the whole slides for my tomorrow's talk. But this time I said, I'm not going to give this as a challenge. What I'm going to do is I'll take that as my own channel. So while I give talk, I'm working on a new real map, Madrid Metro. I'm going to, at the end of the talk, we'll have a Madrid Metro pushed to the Meta CPAN. So that's a challenge for me while I'm doing so. Hopefully you'll be there so we can see how Madrid Metro goes into action as a real map. So hopefully I'll be there. Thank you.